Hey everyone, I'm 25, female, and I am fuming. I'm pretty sure this will be the last time I will ever speak with my family, and I wanted to know if you guys would do the same if you were in my shoes. The main characters in the story: me, 25, female, my sister, Ellie, 23, female, and my mom, 47, female. Growing up, my mom was much closer to Ellie than she was to me. I suppose it was because I was much more masculine than both of them. I had different interests and different goals altogether. I was playing soccer since my middle school days, and as I grew older, I started to get more interested in other sports like volleyball and swimming. Eventually, I got a scholarship due to soccer, and that is how I ended up going to a university 4 states away. While I went away to university, Ellie decided that she wanted nothing to do with university or higher studies. She is a high school dropout, and she is proud of that. Since her first years of high school, she was much more focused on having romantic affairs with people, and somewhere, our mom instigated her to keep doing this. In my mom's eyes, the best thing a girl can do is to have several men doting on her because it is far more likely to have a better life with admirers than when you settle down with someone. My parents separated because of my mom's strong opinions about what a man should be and how a man should act. My dad was an emotionally mature, available guy, which was too much for her. When my parents separated, I was the only one who was in touch with my dad. Ellie believed every word that Mom had fed her and decided that Dad was indeed a wuss. And she would be much better without a father figure in her life because he was not much of a father to us anyway. I can't say I agree with her opinions about him. I tried to correct her opinions about our dad, but she was not interested in that relationship at all. In her eyes, he dug his grave when he decided to burden Mom with his emotional needs. Her strange notions about masculinity and male mindset really bothered me. Somewhere, I felt that she was growing up to be a bit more man-hating, but that was not all. When Ellie was out having romantic relationships, I was busy working on my university degree. Since I was focusing on my degree and my soccer scholarship, I did not have time to date. That bothered Ellie and our mom to no end. In their eyes, what worth do I have if I cannot marry someone worth good money? It was strange hearing them say those things. My mom even went as far as to give me terrible dating advice, which included how I should hit the place where men feel weak and then console them so that I can manipulate them. How I have to manipulate someone to have them stay with me, have them be with me, have them like me. Her words were so strange to me. Her pieces of advice were so alien. I thanked her for them and proceeded to never follow them. When I was 22, I met someone in my master's course. We started dating, and eventually, when I was 24, we were engaged to be wedded. Because of my mom's strange notions about what a woman must do to keep someone in her life, I decided it would be better if I hid the existence of my boyfriend until we were engaged. My dad was very much aware of my boyfriend and had met him quite a few times before we got engaged. After informing my dad about my engagement, I decided that it was time to take my fiance to my mom, so I did. The meeting did not go as I had planned. At first, when I brought him home, my mom was extremely happy, but not because he was my fiance. Oh no. Mom did not let me finish introducing him. I had only said his name, and Mom said that finally I have come around as a sister because he is the perfect man for Ellie. I should have told her and Ellie about this before. I was too stunned to speak, and so was my fiance. We both watched as Ellie jumped around in skimpy outfits, not even trying to hide the fact that I was right there. Even if my fiance was not my fiance and was just a friend, this was extremely inappropriate behavior. I finally caught my breath after 5 minutes of this drama and decided to set the facts straight. I showed them my ring and told them that he is my fiance and I would have appreciated it if my mom, for once, cared about my happiness instead of Ellie's. Hearing that, my mom took a good look at my fiance's face. After taking a good look at his face, my mom told me that she cannot give her blessings for this marriage. I could not believe my ears. I was shocked and hurt. I was feeling way too many things at that moment, to be honest. But accepting her opinions, I left the house with my fiancé. He asked me if I wanted to still marry him, as he knew that I cared about her opinions. I told him that I loved him. I saw my future with him, and if I wanted to get married, it would be with him and no one else. With that, we decided to proceed with the wedding planning. The planning took us about 2 months, and finally my wedding day was here. I was in my wedding dress, feeling like I was on top of the world and everything. Dad came and he was walking me down the aisle when there was a commotion. My mom and Ellie barged in despite the security. Ellie was wearing a wedding dress that had belonged to my mom before. My mom called me to stop the wedding. Mom approached me and told me that I should not marry my fiancé. Why? Because Ellie deserves this more than I do. Ellie deserves a sweet husband who earns money and can take care of her while she lives out her homemaker dream, unlike me, who is a masculine woman. My mom dug into the dress that I was wearing, saying how even the dress I was wearing would look better on my sister because I have developed biceps and triceps, and the only thing that is stopping me from being a man is the lack of facial hair. Mom even asked my fiancé what type of a woman he wants in his arms. A woman who is dutiful, or a woman who would rather spend her free time chasing a ball. It was hurtful, embarrassing, and humiliating to be on the receiving end of such words from my mother. I could not even defend myself. Since I was quiet, my mom took it as a sign of me accepting demands and told me to get down from the altar and let Ellie step in. That was when my fiancé reached out and grabbed my hand. He told my mom to leave because she was not welcome here, and neither was Ellie. He said he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me, a woman he can play soccer with, than Ellie, someone he does not know and does not like. Mom's face fell. She asked me to say something, and all I could muster was for her to leave. Making a disgusted face, my mother made her way out of the venue, barely hiding her hatred toward me. Ellie followed my mom out of the venue, quite upset about it. I could barely focus on the service, and the wedding was delayed for half an hour. Once I was feeling better, I finally got to marry the love of my life. Once the ceremony was done and I was finally alone, I broke down. I do not understand why my mom did what she did. Am I so wrong to want to be married even though I am a masculine person? I do not understand. Update 1. Hey everyone. Thank you for all the sweet words you all left in my DMs and comments. I did not have the opportunity to reply to all of them, but I assure you I have read them all, and I appreciate you all very much for taking time out of your day and reading all this. Yes, my mom and I were never close because of my interest in sports. Ellie and Mom do not look much more similar than me and Mom. I take after my dad. Mom did try to poison us against Dad after the separation. She succeeded when it came to Ellie and not when it came to me. Mom did notice that Dad was present at the ceremony, and I do not think she was very happy about it. I have received a few messages from my mom, but I have not managed the courage to actually open them and see what the contents of those messages are. Update 2. I opened the messages she sent me. In my mom's eyes, she hated that I married someone who would have been perfect for my sister. In her eyes, I stole the perfect opportunity for Ellie to have the perfect life she was always dreamed of by marrying him. I do not understand why she wants to care about Ellie's happiness and not mine. When I mentioned that to her, my mom told me that she did not bring me up to be such a hateful person who enjoys being envious of others. I can't say I can make a lot of sense out of what she said, but I knew that whatever she was saying was to hurt me, and I had no reason to sit and tolerate what she was throwing my way. So I decided to block her. I have never thought about taking a step as drastic as that, However, standing where I am currently standing, I felt like that would be the best call of action. I have blocked my mom for now. Update 3. Since I have blocked my mom, Ellie has decided to slander me over the internet. She posted several posts making me the villain who stole her boyfriend when that was not the case. Luckily, my father and his side of the family knew about my ongoing relationship with my husband, so they did not believe any of her words. My mother's side of the family was a different story altogether. But either way, it is all right. I am not too worried about it. I have blocked her as well, and I do not plan on unblocking her either. Mom's family has contacted me, and I have explained the situation to some of them. The ones who believed me were left unblocked. The ones who did not believe me got blocked. I feel no regret whatsoever, and that is about it. I hope to have a happy life with my husband, and I am not going to let my toxic family ruin my chances at happiness. Wow, your mom has some rather archaic and toxic values. You deserve so much better. I cannot imagine why she thought it would be appropriate to do what she did. You are NTA for blocking her, by the way. NTA, you should block your mom and Ellie and everyone else who thinks what they did is appropriate because this is not appropriate at all. Next story. I, 26 female, am my mom's 54 female child and only daughter to my dad, who she met after breaking up with my uncle, Bob, 53 male, who had cheated on her with my aunt, 51 female, and was pressured into marriage by their parents, finding out Jane was pregnant with my cousin Amelia, 32 female. I'm not sure about all the details, but from what I've gathered, Bob started sleeping with Jane because she was willing, while my mom wanted to wait until marriage. My grandparents were very religious and traditionalists. My mom was devastated and cut Bob and Amelia out of her life for years and went LC with my grandparents after they retired, pushing for reconciliation after Amelia was born. Eventually, my mom met my dad and got engaged, and I guess by that point she was truly over Bob because she invited him, Jane, Amelia, and their son, Bob Jr., 28 male, to the wedding. Jane was bummed out that she couldn't be a bridesmaid or that my mom made my godsister her flower girl instead of Amelia, and there was an argument. Before the wedding, there was a sit-down between my parents, Bob, Jane, and my maternal grandparents, where my mom said that she was willing to have some type of relationship with all of them, but only under the condition that they all agreed to never speak about the past again. From that day on, me and my cousins all grew up together and never knew the truth. And I thought we were all one big happy family. So I was surprised my mom wasn't as sympathetic as I thought she should be when it turned out that Bob had been cheating on my aunt multiple times with different women. They later divorced after Bob had gotten one of his flings pregnant. Bob moved away and barely saw my cousins, but he always sent me cards, presents, and messages. I also didn't find out until later, but he actually paid for my college in secret, so I didn't have any debt, while Amelia and Bob only got partial help from him. Recently, my Uncle Bob passed away, and his lawyer requested that I attend a will reading, and I went to support my cousins. I was floored when I realized that I got almost everything. That's when the secret came out, and it was revealed that Bob never got over my mom, was still in love with her, and always as me as the daughter that should have been his. It took me getting a DNA test to prove that I was my father's daughter to convince everyone that my mom never slept with Bob. And during that time, my cousins and Bob's other children said some really nasty things to me. After some time had cooled off, I looked at the total value of my share of around $400,000 after fees and agreed to just give 50% to my cousins. They weren't happy and felt that as Bob's legal children, they should get everything. Wouldn't hear about accepting any less and called me a greedy witch with a B. AITA? Edit. Just to be clear, neither my mom, dad, or I knew that Bob was the one who gave me money for college because when I was applying for stuff, Bob sent me a link to an organization that a friend of his knew about, that gave money for school. The place seemed legit and asked me to show my college acceptance letter along with a 300 to 500 word personal statement and a copy of my transcripts, and that I'd find out in about 2 weeks if I got it. After he got the stuff I sent, Bob Googled the average of the school I was going to and mailed me a check for that amount. The check was sent to a P.O. box that I had, and that's how Bob would send me the money every year. Edit 2. Also, Bob did leave his children something. Amelia got $20,000. Bob Jr. got $10,000 plus a car. Bob's other son, $10,000 plus his other car. Bob's other daughter got ownership of his small beach house. She's the only one who lives in the same state as it. You see how you're willing to give them 50% of something given to you out of your control, yet they want you to have nothing? Cut them out and give them nothing. You'll never be able to do enough. If it weighs on your conscience, then maybe 10 to 20% for them to split, but make everything formal with a lawyer. Agree to nothing and give nothing without it being in writing from a lawyer. You don't communicate it. Your lawyer does. If you aren't willing to get a lawyer, then let it go. It'd be too messy otherwise. NTA. NTA, don't give them a dime. Bob's money, Bob's decision. Next story. I, 22, female, am my mom's, 40, female, oldest child. She has another daughter named Andy, 4, female, that she and her wife, Ella, 38, female, had together shortly after they got married. I'm not very close with my mom. My bio dad wasn't the best person, and I know that in her eyes, I was just a reminder of him. When I was 8, she sent me off to live with my grandmother, and really the only time I ever heard from her was when she'd send money for me every few months. I spent a very large portion of my childhood wondering why she didn't want me, or why she never seemed to even like me. I would always create reasons as to why, convincing myself that I must have done something wrong. Before Andy was born, and my mother and I had sort of started to speak more than we had previously, my therapist suggested that I just sit my mom down and talk to her directly. Instead of wondering what the answers were, I could just hear them from the source. My mom told me that she sent me to live with my grandmother because she couldn't stand being near me. Me being out of her sight made it easier for her to pretend I didn't exist, which then made it easier for her to go on with her life and heal. I don't blame her for feeling that way. Like I said, my bio dad isn't a good person, and I get why she couldn't handle being my mom. I don't necessarily forgive her because I was a kid and I deserved better, but I also don't hold her totally responsible because I know she was going through a lot. I'm not sure how much her wife Ellen knows about our history, but she has been very clearly trying to get my mom and I to reconnect. I guess she wants me to know Andy. Maybe they both do, but I'm not sure. My mom asked me to meet her for coffee to talk. While we were at the coffee place, she told me that she was sorry about how things played out between us and that she hoped her apology was enough for me to forgive her. I said that it meant a lot to hear her say sorry, but that her saying it wasn't enough for me to just forgive and forget it all. I understand her and I empathize with her, but I can't forgive her. After I left, she ended up texting me and telling me how unfair I was being, to tell her that her sorry wasn't enough. She said it took a lot for her to get to the point where she could own up to this, and me just saying it essentially meant nothing really hurt her feelings. In her last text, she said that I didn't have to outright say I can't forgive her, especially since I do seem to want to have some sort of relationship with her. I could have just kept that info to myself. I guess she's right. I definitely didn't have to say it, but I did. Edit. Please read my comments for further context. Sorry, I didn't include it here. But my mother isn't a narcissist, and I don't think she's a bad person. I think we're both unfortunately products of our situations, and I'm not mad at her. Not really. I don't like that it happened, and I wish that I could change it, but I obviously can't. I recognized that she was hurt, but I also recognized that I was a child. And while her hurt explains why my childhood was the way it was, I know it doesn't entirely excuse it. NTA, but your mom is. It's a mystery to me how parents can cause actual trauma to their children and then get mad when they're held accountable for it. It's good that she's trying to reconnect, but that doesn't mean you owe her anything. That doesn't cancel how much she has hurt you. NTA at all. Your assessment of her actions is profoundly empathetic and kind, considering she abandoned you. Her excuse is insufficient. I have two children by two husbands, 16 years apart, both of whom strongly resemble their abusive dads, and I did not abandon them. From what you said, all you're asking for is for her to acknowledge the depth of what she did. I'm sorry she's still being selfish. I hope you find all the love and acceptance you deserve. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.